Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 tournament. This is the first groups restream. We had one groups match last night, but this is the first one you'll actually get to watch. We are featuring SirLinkalot, and apparently his opponent's screen isn't loaded at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like we're trying to get some technical difficulties figured out here.
But in a moment, we should HayfieldBay facing against SirLinkalot. They are the 2 and 3 seeds in Group AC. No doubt they're running air conditioning all day. I'm Drosy1. I'm here with Hammerbro. How are you this fine Sunday morning?
Honestly, I'm probably a little bit too excited for the return of some tournament ALTTPR. How about you, man? How are you doing?
Yeah, so am I. I mean, we haven't had a one-on-one game in quite a while, so it's nice to get back to that stage of things where, you know, what you see on the restream is everything going on, and we're not like showing you a small sampling of 100 runners.
That's fair. It definitely has a different feel to it as well, knowing that the only two people who are running this one are sitting right in front of us.
And just as a reminder, the groups were determined by random draw after the top 128 finishers and the qualifiers were divided into quartiles. So SirLinkalot was randomly picked from the second quartile of 33rd place to 64th place, and HayfieldBay was randomly picked from the third quartile of 65th place to 96th place. So they really weren't that far apart in the overall qualifying standings. I think SirLink was about 89.5 points. Hayfield was about 87 points. So this should be a pretty good even match.
It should be. And for those of you in chat or elsewhere who are unfamiliar with some of the changes that have happened for the randomizer, the lamp is not always required for all dark rooms now. You can use the fire rod for particular rooms that have a torch to be lit up. For instance, the dark room in Eastern to go beat Armos. So that is an option. Keep that in the back of your head.
And there are a lot of other small changes that we'll be discussing if and when they come up in the run here. For those of you who did follow the quals, this match will have the same settings as the quals. And it looks like we are off here, and they've chosen opposite starts. SirLink in the Sanctuary, Hayfield in Link's house, just a map in the former and a piece of heart in the latter.
Yeah, I'm somewhat amused by the different starts here, so we'll see if someone gets a quick early advantage and how quickly the other person decides to reroute over the first person's steps.
Well, we're about to see what Uncle's holding here, or maybe the Uncle chest first. Hook shot.
That'll make movement a bit easier at the very least.
Yeah, at least you can stun the enemies, even if you can't defeat them.
And Linkalot grabbing a whole bunch of rupees from our bush crab, so that's nice.
Yeah, that'll give him bottle merchant money right there.
Also, almost enough money for bombs as well right off the bat, which will be nice in case he doesn't run across any before entering the village.
And now HayfieldBay is going to be on his tail since he's going to take the same route out of Sanctuary. And we have our map check. That was a blue pendant on Hera, 5/6 crystal in Desert, and a regular crystal in Eastern.
I'm glad you caught that, because I was barely able to catch anything. It was so fast.
And nothing so far in Lost Woods, but in the basement we have a bottle of green goo. So that'll also put Sick Kid in play when we go through.
Yep, that's one less thing to worry about there. Also notice that HayfieldBay is now grabbing his first crab and is going to be rather pleased to see all the red rupees pop out here.
I miss Sir Link grabbing his second crab. He is certainly flush with the cash now.
Yep, just making sure he's all set up, which makes sense. Interesting, HayfieldBay doing a saving quid.
And Sir Link going to cack well before blindside out.
And ended up paying off for him. Look at those bombs.
Yeah. That's good luck. I mean, statistically, neither one is more likely than the other to have bombs in it.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see what Blind's Hut uncovers for us, and we'll see if he really did make a really, really good choice there.
Whereas Hayfield was digging up bombs under the bushes in front of the magical forest, or whatever it's called in the light world. Haunted Grove, there we go.
There you go. That's one way to do it, although I'm curious as to why he didn't just go buy bombs. I feel like it would have been quicker, especially with the rupee crab being what it was.
Meanwhile, Blind's basement had more bombs, as well as, more importantly, the moon pearl and the bow.
Yep, that's another big change with this version. Keep in mind that the bows are now progressive, so you're not going to see anyone running around with silver arrows.
Oh, and there was the lamp on the bookcase in the library.
Which, although it doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to get early boots, it leans in that direction.
And yes, chat remarking that that's almost certainly a fire hazard.
It's okay. Bottle vendor just completely and totally wasted our time. He took 100 rupees and then just gave them right back.
How do you know they weren't 100 better rupees? Ooh, flippers in the back of the tavern.
Yep, and half magic in the chicken hut. So we're pretty well loaded here.
Yeah, this is definitely Stackerico today. Now, the thing is, as Hammerbro was saying, there are certain places that can be in certain dark rooms that are in logic with the fire rod. So with the bow, the fire rod would put Eastern Palace in logic, though I'm sure both of these runners, having made it this far, can beat Eastern with the dark rooms. Otherwise, they would need to find the boots to get the lamp in logic and have Eastern in logic that way.
Exactly. At this point, it's not so much of a what you can and cannot check. It's more of a just knowing that boots could technically be on Armos at this point if they get the fire rod somewhere else.
And conversely, if they decide to do the dark rooms and find the boots on Armos, they know the fire rod has to be somewhere accessible.
Exactly.
Not much on race game today.
Yeah, just another 20 rupees, and although there are certain games where those 20 rupees might be worth it early on, when you have a rupee crab just dropping 20s left and right, not really worth the trick.
And Sir Link will give us our first look at the South Shore check here. While Hayfield is now going to collect his Moon Pearl and Bow.
Yep, and with Mini Moldorm Cave coming up, I'm sure SirLinkalot would really, really like to have the hook shot that's currently hiding in the escape area.
Yeah, one way or another, he's gonna need to go to Uncle Chest to get the hook shot. Just a vanilla heart piece from draining the swamp there.
Come to think of it, the hookshot would also have come in handy for this particular room.
That's true, thanks to the magic of version 1.0 glitches. You can hookshot over the block as it moves, and then you only have to go in once.
Alright, SirLinkalot ended up with enough rupees there for Zora.
Ooh, unfortunately, Hayfield didn't quite manage to pull off that glitch with the hookshot that we were just talking about.
Yeah, the timing can be annoying. Alright, Mini Moldorm Cave goes off without a hitch, and hopefully we'll have some good stuff in here.
I'll take Blue Mail with this early in the game and so few hearts, and Quake Medallion.
That'll be interesting to see if that's required later.
Also, since we have such early flippers, I fully expect both runners to do all the flippers checks.
Almost definitely, although with the 500 rupees, we'd probably see all the flipper checks regardless. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, hop in the water twice like that, although, at least to the eye test, it's faster, so that's kind of cool.
And you avoid those crabs, though they're less dangerous now that our runners have Blue Mail.
That was a disrespectful single rupee right there.
So I did not catch what was on the floating island when Hayfield jumped in.
I actually didn't either, but we should see it in just a moment here. Or we'll see it after we go check out our hobo friend.
What did he abscond with and store under the bridge today?
Interesting divergence here. HayfieldBay deciding not to do a bunch of the flipper locations because he doesn't have the rupees for them. So Hayfield is instead headed for Eastern.
And probably Sahasralo's closet on the way over. It's also worth noting that this whirlpool access is the only way to get to this area that SirLink's now in because our runners don't have a glove yet.
Alright, nothing useful so far, but if there's something either on Zora Ledge or with Zora himself, that could lead to an interesting divergence in how our runners run this race.
And Sahasrala didn't have too much in his closet either, other than a bottle. Nothing really on Zora Ledge, looked like 50 rupees.
Yep, not much of note for either end right now. We'll see just a moment if our swindling fish has anything useful this go around.
Better than 50% ROI!
That's much better than what we usually get for coming over here.
So it turns out those early flippers were a bit of a red herring.
Alright, so I guess it's time to check out the other item that we received early on. SirLinkalot's still not having that hookshot, so he's going to lose a little more time here in Eastern, seeing as HayfieldBay can just head straight across there and not have to go around.
But other than that, they're pretty well following in each other's footsteps now.
Yep, each has a couple checks the other hasn't done, but by and large, we're around the same area at this given point.
Yeah, the big thing is Hayfield's gonna need that hook shot, whereas... Sorry, Sir Link's gonna need that hook shot, whereas Hayfield just probably has in the back of his mind that he hasn't done the Waterfall Cave and Zora checks yet.
That's a fair point, but depending on how paranoid HayfieldBay is, that may or may not become a problem later on.
So it looks like all our items are in the last few chests of Eastern. We saw a Fisher Price shield in the big chest, and the other two items must be in the vanilla big key chest and on Armos.
Yep, that's how Eastern's usually laid out.
Oh yeah, chat pointing out that we don't have too many checks left. We are nowhere near putting Aga in logic, but we're also nowhere near Dark World access apart from Aga.
Yeah, more or less all that we have that's really in logic at this point is the rest of Escape and Agana, as everyone's calling out.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Escape is since we don't have a glove, we don't even know whether we have access to the back of Escape, though in any case, without the lamp, the back of Escape wouldn't be in logic without the glove. So
Ooh,
really...
HayfieldBay having a little difficulty with that dark room.
That'll probably give SirLinkalot enough time to catch up. Ooh, HayfieldBay is just noping out now.
I can see the logic in it. Armos is still technically out of logic with the lack of both Fire Rod and Lamp. So the only way this would really bite him in the butt is if we have either Boots or the Fire Rod back here in Escape. Or Agnes Cave, for that matter.
Yeah, so only the front three chests here in Escape are in logic, so one of those three or Agena must have progression. I'm not sure what that arrow is for on Sir Link's side.
Maybe he was just having difficulty individually following the anti-fairies.
And meanwhile, Hayfield did pick up the glove there in the first check, so that's definitely progression.
That is, although it still doesn't give us a whole lot, other than the back of Escape now definitely being in logic.
That is true. Nothing in that second chest. And Sir Link has successfully made it through that dark room. So from there, it's easy going all the way to Armos.
Yep, and in just a moment we'll be able to see if SirLinkalot gains any information from what Armos does or does not drop.
And HayfieldBay has just shown us that the glove was our only progression in the front of Escape. So he is heading for the back of Escape, not too surprisingly.
Yep, and I don't believe he picked up the key here, so there'll either be a small key here in the back of Escape, or it'll be in Dark Cross, which is amazing because that means we won't have to worry about it.
Well, no consequences for breaking logic on Armos. And there are the boots!
There we go. Alright, so that unlocks our lamp, which does then technically put a bunch of stuff into logic. Bonk Rocks and Death Mountain being the big one once we go grab the lamp.
And with Hookshot, we have access to all of East Death Mountain, too.
Yeah, so potentially a treasure trove there, although it looks like HayfieldBay is going to go ahead and hit up Bonk Rocks first.
We've seen a lot of big 20s lately.
We have, although I feel like the bush crabs have been kind of skewing it in that direction because we've seen so many from them.
Also a good point.
Speaking of...
Well, more importantly, Sir Link's about to get his hookshot, while HayfieldBay is picking up the lamp.
It will be interesting to see if HayfieldBay feels the need to go check the Zora area later in the game, because if not, that'll be time that he just straight up saves.
And I think at this point, with so many checks on Death Mountain, as long as you keep finding progression, you're not going to prioritize Zora.
No, I wouldn't say he would do that yet. If anything, that would be something that would happen later on, assuming they end up getting the mirror.
Oh yeah, Hayfield didn't check Lumberjack yet, so he's going to see the, what do you know, big 20 up there.
Oh, come on, Drosy. Money makes the world go round.
If indeed Hyrule is round, I'm not sure that's ever been determined.
That's a fair point. I'm gonna have to do some research on that and get back to you. Although, I'm hoping it's round because money makes Hyrule go flat isn't nearly as catchy of a phrase.
Well, the Final Fantasy worlds are topographically equivalent to a torus. There's your math nerdiness for the day.
Given that it's a Sunday morning for most of us, I feel like that wasn't exactly welcome. But, you know. Uncle having a sword for us. Uncle, I mean old man. Goodness gracious. I'm getting my old people mixed up.
Well, I'm sure the runners are a bit tired of having the bow as their only weapon, so it's a welcome sight.
And hey,
oh, and there's Masters. You know what that means, though.
That Death Mountain is doing a buy one, get one free sale on swords?
That Death Mountain is putting Aga in logic.
Don't say that.
And just a reminder for those of you who didn't watch Quals, it was decided, because a lot of the runners prefer it this way, to do this tournament with hints off, which is why HayfieldBay did not check the hint tile in there, and the runners didn't check the hint tile in Eastern.
Yeah, hints are very interesting. They definitely do change the game and change the usefulness of certain areas, i.e. Ice Palace. Oh, look at that. Mitts in the lower half of Paradox Cave.
Well, we now have Dark World access separate from Aga, but you never know where the hammer might be. It could always be on Pyramid. And I guess Sir Link was not counting keys.
It happens. Sometimes you just get into the rhythm of clearing things out as quickly as you can, and then you open a chest and you go, oh, I didn't have to do that. Ah, dang it. Just a heart on the floating island there, so that one will probably be left alone as HayfieldBay heads over towards Spiral Cave, but thankfully with the boots.
Also, with those Titan's mitts and the Moon Pearl they got earlier, and the hook shot, HayfieldBay now has 6 more checks on Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, this definitely worked out to be a very smooth check of Death Mountain. Now we just need some way to check Ether Tablet while we're up here, and we can get pretty much everything except for the dungeons done. I'm not going to even go into the requirements that we could potentially need to get into Turtle Rock at this given point, so we're going to leave the dungeons part of this alone.
Yeah, we are a ways from thinking about Turtle Rock, though I'm sure he'll check the medallion just because he's here. Well, there's our hammer. Rip Aga.
I'm pretty sure that's more of a breath of relief for most people.
That was too quick a check for me. Did you catch what it was? It looked like maybe Quake. Oh, and here it's a pendant anyway, and the green pendant is in Swamp, and the other 5/6 is in Pod.
I believe I saw Quake as well, but I am not certain.
Our tracker's saying Quake.
Well, there you go. That's why we pay them the big bucks.
Also, shout out to Sanders316, our tracker.
Very much so. It is more difficult pressing those buttons than you would originally think. I've tried it a couple times, and it's very, very attention-grabbing. All right.
Yeah, and sometimes the buttons don't respond either, so it's definitely harder than it looks.
Alright, speaking of a lack of response, we'll see if we get any hype from this cave this go-around. Although, to be honest, I'm not holding my breath.
Red mail. Fire rod.
Maybe I should have held my breath.
Okay, that makes Skull Woods full clearable. And with the hammer, Thieves Town is full clearable. And we also have the bows, so Pod's full clearable. And it looks like that's where Hayfield's making his way now. He'll probably check Pyramid on the way. Nope, he's going straight to Pod.
Ice Palace is also an option. We don't have the cane, so it might not be fully in logic to clear, but it would be clearable in terms of doing the Ice Palace bomb jump. So I think at this point, the main thing that we need is the cane of Samaria and the flute.
And whatever medallion is necessary for Mire, and the mirror. No, Swamp's a pendant, sorry.
But maybe the mirror, depending on whether or not we get the Book of Medora.
Right, we will need either the mirror or the book to get into desert. Oh, Sir Link just quit out of Death Mountain without checking Dark Death Mountain. Which means that he's probably, unless he suddenly realizes, oh wait, I can do Dark Death Mountain, he's gonna be doing Aga pretty soon.
No, it looks like he's going straight to Outcasts.
Oh. That makes sense. I totally forgot that, of course, there's that one portal since you do have Titan's Nets.
Right, but because he didn't check the Dark DM or Hype Cave, he doesn't have the Fire Rod or the Hammer. So he can't full clear either of these dungeons.
But maybe he'll loot the 2 items out of here. Also, since we haven't gone into detail on how this group stage works, there are 4 runners in each group, and it's played as a mini double elimination tournament, and each round in that tournament is a best of 3, so there will be 1 and maybe 2 more matches between SirLinkalot and HayfieldBay here, and the loser gets to change 1 setting for the next match.
That is correct, and if it does go to a game 3, then the loser of the second match gets to make a change to the game 2 settings, not the game 1 settings.
Which puts the winner of the first match at a bit of an advantage, because if they then are the loser of the second match, they have the last say on settings.
That is correct.
Hayfield going straight to the back of Pod here to fight Helmasaur, which makes sense because if Helma has an item, then you keep track of the item count and can possibly quit out early of the rest of the back of Pod.
That's right, but since HayfieldBay doesn't have the mirror, they're not going to be able to put Eastern into it, unless, of course, the mirror is sitting in Pod.
Right. And it also means that he'd have to Death Warp or else save and quit. Because he's not going to walk out of the back of Pod.
Not if you can at all help it. Speaking of Death Warps.
That's more like a health refill. Hayfield is more than halfway through the 17 hammer hits required to get off Helmasaur's mask.
And going with the 8 arrow strats, which can be difficult given how much our little lizard friend likes jumping around.
Switching to Cape and Master Sword. But whatever gets the job done.
And well, there you go. Since you were tired of our red rupees, how's a blue one strike you?
I was just gonna say that at least that takes 1 item off the table for the item count for the dungeon.
That's a fair point.
It's okay, Sir Link finds another big 20 and C-shaped house.
And you can call it right here, as we have found the artisanally crafted arrow.
Not much of a treasure for the treasure game.
That arrow took hours of work, be respectful, Drosy. As we see another big 20. SirLinkalot foregoing Thieves Town.
And Hayfield hasn't found anything yet in the back, but Harmless Hellway must have a key, so he will be skipping. Nope, is he just gonna do the key for a key? Again, you can save a bit of time if you keep track of the key count.
Dig game really giving SirLinkalot a run for his money.
Yeah. And speaking of money, that's all he gets out of it. There's Ether. And while I was keeping track of the key count, I lost track of the item count. I assume Big Chest must have a dungeon item if he didn't go there.
Yes, I don't remember offhand which one it was. I want to say it's the map.
That sounds right. I think we saw the compass.
Never mind, chat saying it's the compass, so apparently my eyes have deceived me. Alright, so SirLinkalot is going to grab his fire rod and red mail while in here. He might be kicking himself for that.
And Sir Link's probably like, oh, now you give me the fire rod and I have to go back and beat Moth. Whereas HayfieldBay is going to be able to do Skullwoods all in one go.
Yeah, although it does make me wonder at what point SirLinkalot's going to go back up to the Dark Death Mountain and grab his hammer.
But meanwhile, he's sure taking that Smith on a world tour.
I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, he'd been stuck behind those rocks as a frog for so long, he needs to go out and see the world.
Speaking of potential locations, both of our runners have access to King's Tomb, and neither of them has checked it, so we'll see if that's something that gets forgotten or re-remembered at some point.
Just a red meringue from the Smiths today.
Yep, the Smiths giving the inferior boomerang. Alright, it looks like we're going to have two quick Mothula clears here. One right after the other.
And with Fire Rod and half magic, I'm guessing the runners will probably prefer that over Master Sword hits.
Almost definitely. The only alternative strat I could see here being a thing would be the hammer, which, as I say, gets pulled
And
out.
right as you say it. And down goes Moth. Okay, so junk in Skullwoods because Sir Link already showed us 3 bombs in the front.
Yep, nothing doing there, although it will be interesting to see if SirLinkalot decides to go into Thieves' Town without the hammer, and if he does, if there's anything sitting in that big chest that's currently out of reach for him.
And the irony there is, if there's a small key in the big chest, SirLinkalot will be able to get everything, but the game will consider the back of Thieves' Town to be hammerlocked.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that.
Because if you were to waste the earlier small key, you wouldn't be able to get the small key out of the chest to continue without the hammer.
Yep, and dungeon logic always assumes the most inefficient use of keys physically possible.
Okay, Hayfield collects his second item, so he'll be getting out of there. Wonder which runner will enter Thieves' Town first. Oh, HayfieldBay is not even going to the Village of Outcasts.
Which is an interesting choice.
Well, he has the cape, so I can see Bumper Ledge being a worthwhile check.
That's a fair point. It's something you can really, really easily forget. Alright, SirLinkalot's going to get a little bit of a head start on Thieves' Town as HayfieldBay cleans up the rest of Town of Outcasts.
Please don't give it the dignity of being a town, it's a village.
You have to speak it into existence. Give them a little more respect. Come on now. And plus, I'm sure it's turned into a town once we save the game and everything's all well and good there.
It's no longer Outcasts at that point, though.
I might have to rename it. Hey look, it's your favorite. Another big 20.
And the big key in its vanilla chest, where at that point it had to be because we were out of checks.
Yep, no surprise key sanity for our runners today.
So that reminds me, I want to see the tournament document for a moment to see if that's a possibility for a settings change for the next game.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Just map compass shuffle, so there's no key shuffle option, let alone full key sanity. Since we're on the topic, the options for what the loser of this match can do for the next match is they can change us from open mode to standard mode, they can change us from defeat Ganon to fast Ganon, they can change the dungeon items from standard to map compass shuffle, they can change the game settings from 7-7 to 6-6, which means you can skip one crystal, and they can change swords from randomized to assured.
Yep, and for those of you who may not be aware, the difference between the defeat Ganon and fast Ganon settings are that with fast Ganon, you might not have to go into Ganon's tower at all. The hole for Ganon's just kind of sitting there, and then he'll be vulnerable once you've completed the correct amount of crystals, either in this case 7 or 6, depending on what that setting is.
And also, there's no requirement that the loser of this game change the settings for the next game, so they could decide that they like the default settings well enough and leave them alone.
Yep, while we're on the topic of dungeons here, SirLinkalot did not end up having to worry about that big chest because we just have a small key in there.
Which means if Blind has anything useful, SirLink will have to remember that it's logically hammerlocked, which might help him locate the hammer.
Well, given that SirLinkalot still hasn't gone into pod or done any of the east side Dark World checks, there's still a bunch of stuff available there for him.
And Thieves Town gives us our third crystal, but it was a bust item-wise. Both runners having a very easy time with the blind fight, taking advantage of the fact that it's scripted, so if you remember what Blind's going to do, he will do the same thing each time.
Yep, all you need are frame perfect hits repeatedly, over and over again, and then he's dead.
SirLinkalot's going to give us our first look at Catfish while Hayfield goes to the dig game.
I do find it interesting that at almost 45 minutes, neither of our runners have the Mire yet. As Catfish figures and give us another big 20.
And as we discussed, if they find the book, the Mire may well not be required in this seed, and they could go through the whole thing without it.
Although that wouldn't exactly be ideal for routing purposes, it's definitely possible.
Well, it does take a few checks off the board, such as checkerboard. I couldn't resist.
That's fair. There's a big 20 for your trouble.
So yeah, are we getting to the point where progression has to be in ice?
That is an interesting thought. Off the top of my head, yeah, you might be right there, because they can't get into Harrow without the Mire. Can't get into Desert at all. We know there's nothing in Pod, can't do Swamp. So yeah, it seems like that's about our only option that neither runner has checked.
Well, we haven't seen... I don't think we've seen hammer pegs. Of course, HayfieldBay is the only one who can do it, and as you mentioned, we haven't seen King's Tomb from anyone.
That's right, we also haven't seen Purple Chest, actually.
Good point.
Which would not be a fun check, but is a check nonetheless. chat bringing up a good point. SirLinkalot is heading into pod without the hammer. This one's gonna hurt.
Yeah, he can do everything except Helmosaur, but then he's gonna have to double dip.
I think the only way this ends up not being a really big issue is if he ends up grabbing the mirror before he has to come back, because then he could do Eastern while... Oh, never mind, he's already completed Eastern. That's right, HayfieldBay is the one who hasn't. So never mind, it's going to be a double dip no matter which way you look at it.
And it also means that he will have to death warp out of this next room because he can't use the hammer to jump down.
Yep, and with red mail, that is not going to be a quick task.
Red mail in nearly full life. I think he's going to use the trap tiles because they take off 1 heart regardless.
Still a heck of a warp there.
And HayfieldBay has to take the long way through the right side of ice because he hasn't found a key yet.
It'll be interesting to see if Ice Palace is technically Cane of Samaria locked. Logic required double dips are always fun, shall we say.
And that is the case if we see a small key on Cold Stare.
So far, Ice Palace just giving us a whole lot of love. Oh hey, there's a thought. They also still have Agnes Cave that neither one of them has checked.
Also true, maybe they'll combine it with Purple Chest when one of them finally does Purple Chest. Because without the flute, it's a pain to get over there.
Yep, and with there being no chance of them having access to desert at the moment, it's not like you can even combine it with anything good.
So Sir Link picks up his blue cane and his ether. He doesn't know that this is a dungeon item, and there's the compass, as chat has foretold. Compi on both sides, in fact. And no, compi is not the actual plural of compass.
But it really should be. Alright, SirLinkalot looks like he is finally headed over to Dark DM. He's going to be not terribly pleased to find his hammer over here.
Yeah, we think there'll be any rage slashes this morning?
Oof, I'm not sure. There might be. There might also just be a quick dash out of the room, and I need to hurry up and try and catch up at this point. Although I wonder at what point SirLinkalot realized that he could have done this way earlier. Yep, foregoing on the raid slashes there.
Yeah, he didn't even pause. Sometimes runners will pause when they're like, oh. And I think that's our third item out of ice, so we don't need to check iced tea.
Yes, Ice Palace already gave us a piece of heart and a full heart.
So, okay. Hammer Pegs, Aegina, King's Tomb, Purple Chest. Is that what we've decided are the only remaining checks?
I believe so. I'm not coming up with anything else off the top of my head, so we'll go with that.
Honestly, at this point, the runners don't want to see the mirror because that would open up a whole set of new checks, including Swamp.
That's a fair point. They've almost gotten everything narrowed down to, oh boy, that's actually not helpful at all.
I mean, it's necessary, but yeah, without the flute, it doesn't do anything for us. Other than we've just opened up Turtle Rock.
And no ice rod, too. Oh boy. Speaking of, I don't think SirLinkalot actually checked the medallion on Turtle Rock.
Also, now that you're saying evil things like putting the question of beating Turtle Rock into mind, there's no reason Flute couldn't be on Ped.
Wait. You're saying the flute could be on Ped and you're saying that I'm evil? Hold on a second here.
Because otherwise it doesn't matter whether they have to go into Turtle Rock without the Ice Rod. The only reason they would need to worry about beating Trinex is if there's an important item on Trinex or if there's an important item on the pedestal.
As we check one more item location off of our list. Can you feel the walls closing in yet?
So Sir Link's about to return the purple chest, and then hopefully he'll check Aegina just so we have all of the overworld locations that are accessible checked off, and then it's Turtle Rock for lack of... Or Hera! Right, I totally forgot that with the hammer, Hera's in logic.
I feel like you'd probably do Hera first, although I'm not certain on that.
I mean, I would do Hera first, but that's just me.
I mean, I personally would do Hera first, but I'm also terrible at this game. Hey, there's the mirror shield. Go to Turtle Rock.
Quell the riot.
Quell the riot, seek the turtle. Alright, 55 minutes in.
And if it's not this, we're diving a pendant dungeon.
Hey, it's your favorite.
Our progression is in a pendant dungeon. Oh, by the way, you basically have to do Hera before Turtle Rock because we have no mirror, so you'd have to save and quit after Turtle Rock to do Hera. Oh, and HayfieldBay is now finally doing those flippers checks that SirLinkalot did early on.
Yep, so it ends up being no cost for either of them at this given point.
Yes, I'm sure they're going to last location those pendant dungeons because, you know, who wants to start diving pendant dungeons on Death Mountain when there are overworld checks left?
Especially with both of those dungeons being pendant dungeons. If one of them were a crystal, then you could go up there anyways, and well, I'm already here, maybe I'll just take a look. But with Hera and Turtle Rock being pendant dungeons, no, they are not going to want to come in here if they have any choice whatsoever in the matter. That's a thought. We also have Spike Cave.
Let us not think of such things.
But we have half magic and 2 invulnerability items.
Yeah, it is reasonable on that level. So probably then Hera followed by Spike Cave, save and quit, and then do Turtle Rock is what I would do.
Yeah, this routing is going to be unpleasant.
Meanwhile, Sir Link on his way to discovering that Ice Palace is going to give him nothing except the mandatory crystal.
Yep, and at this point, he's probably going to go into Pod next to complete it, I would assume, since Helmasaur does have an item.
And he'll need that crystal anyway.
Yep, it's just that 5 rupees that we were talking about earlier, but still, it needs to be done.
Oh look, HayfieldBay is on Death Mountain. And with this route, the only thing he could possibly be doing is Spike Cave.
I'm fairly certain that this is a holding out hope move. Please
Absolute last check before diving a pendant dungeon.
Please don't make me dip a pendant. Please don't make me dip a pendant. Please don't make me dip a pendant. That's what that sounds like.
Oh, they're pointing out in chat that Hayfield has not done King's Tomb, and I don't think he did Agena either. But between the two runners, we have now seen every accessible check that is not Tower of Hera or Turtle Rock.
Alright, so this sounds like a perfect time to have chat get in their guesses. What are we going to find and where are we going to find it?
Also a bit of a plug to follow these runners who are really doing the best they can with this seed of last locationing. Okay, Hayfield just got his cane, so now he knows that Turtle Rock is in logic.
Yep, back up the mountain again. I'm just gonna say, I hope that Mega Man was ready for leg day, because it's a lot of stairs to go up several times. Alright, Mr. Drosy, what do you think we're gonna find up here?
I'm kind of resigned to the progression being on Laser Bridge.
That's fair. Is it going to be a flute on Laser Bridge that actually lets us do something, or is it just going to be a fetch quest? Because we haven't seen any of those yet either.
That's true, no shovel or mushroom or powder or anything. Or it could be Ice Rod on Laser Bridge and then we're, you know, moving on with pendants. But I still hold that the absolute last item these runners want to see at this point is Mirror.
Although, given that HayfieldBay is doing Turtle Rock first, it would at least make Hera accessible without another Death Mountain climb.
Yeah, I guess he's going for the item density. 5 items in Turtle Rock versus 2 in Hera. And of course, without the Mirror, Mimic Cave will not be checkable.
Oh no. At least Mirror can't be on pedestal. That would be terrible. Mirror on pedestal and then our required item in Mimic Cave. Although Mirror can still be tucked away somewhere else.
Yes, I suppose you could have Mirror as an object of one of those fetch quests that we haven't seen yet. Sir Link really doing an exemplary job of Master Sword Cold Stare here. I mean, Cold Stare only takes a gazillion hits with Master Sword.
Yeah, very much not an easy fight.
Nice Cane of Bernadash by HayfieldBay.
Gotta go fast, even if you're in the last location, everything in this seed. This seed feels like a tile room GT Big Key. It just does.
That's when you hope, like, both runners just kind of simultaneously shoot the seed or something.
Or you hope that one runner just decides to go for it on a whim and gets it. Those are always the best.
Yes, we saw that in, I believe, the third place match last year. And by last year, I mean last March, because the 2018 fall tournament went well into 2019.
I mean, this one's want to do the same thing. Hey! Found it!
Okay.
Now, that's an interesting choice because we still don't have access to desert.
Right, but that just unlocked 4 items, 2 in Mire Shed and 2 in Mire itself, so Hayfield is hoping that one of those 4 will be his desert access, and then we don't have to worry about any more pendant dungeons.
That's a fair point. We also don't know that we can get into to Mire right now.
That's true. There's still the 1 in 3 chance of Bombos access.
It might still be Bombos. I feel like we might get some raid slashes if it is.
But also, assuming we can enter Mire, Swamp is necessarily ruled out.
That's fair, because it'll be a go mode mirror or book, right? But mirror would give us what we needed, so Swamp is at least a no-go, assuming that we're not looking at Bombos.
Right. If Mire is Bombos, anything can happen, including Bombos on Ped.
And here comes the hour and 5-minute Agona Cave. Check. This seed is terrible.
Just figured we'd do a music change here since Hayfield's a bit ahead at the moment.
Yeah, that is a fair point. And now the moment of truth. Alright, what's going to be our medallion of choice?
He's not even gonna look before... Oh, there it is, Quake.
I thought so too. I was like, are you going to purposely withhold information from us, Hayfield? That's not very nice.
Okay, so 2 items in Mire, and if neither of them is the book or the mirror or a fetch quest item leading to book or mirror, we're gonna have to go back into one of those pendant dungeons on Death Mountain.
You know, this is actually where SirLinkalot could make up a lot of time if he grabs the flute and continues going on. assuming that the items required aren't in Mire.
Or if he does Tower of Hera and it turns out that our needed item is in Tower of Hera.
Yep. For those in chat asking, we are currently either the book or the mirror away from go mode, because we still can't get into desert. I'm sure our runners would also like either a sword upgrade or the silver, so that the Ganon fight isn't our infamous spin cycle. Alright, and into Hera we go.
Well, Hayfield is about to find out whether this would be a god mire.
Of course it is.
Yeah, so if Sir Link gets either the book or the mirror and sticks around on Death Mountain to get the flute, he can god mire it.
Oh boy.
And oh wow.
So SirLinkalot is officially in go mode, I think?
No, he hasn't gotten the flute.
That's right. Oh, this is going to be fun.
We're in no mode. Well, there's one of our Mire items, the third bottle.
You know, there's still a chance that the book could be somewhere else to give HayfieldBay go mode.
It's entirely possible. There's our other Hera item, and Sir Link's just gonna quit out of there and assume that the ped is not necessary. We know it's not. Looks like he's gonna do Spike Cave.
So now the interesting question here is, and I assume that SirLinkalot would go and do Turtle Rock next, but Swamp is also an option now for him.
Right, I'd take Pendant Turtle Rock over Pendant Swamp if I'm only looking for an item.
I would as well, but it's definitely something to think about. As HayfieldBay is still waiting on that other item.
And he's going to check Viddy now and hope that Viddy has the second item and he doesn't have to go to left side Mire.
Yeah, fire-locked items are not fun.
No.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said it.
Well, guess we get to find out what's in Mire. Not Mire, Swamp. Oh no, where? Oh, SirLinkalot's doing all the overworld mirror checks.
That's still gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Because that might still end in a swamp check.
Yeah, I'd say HayfieldBay is better positioned because if he gets the second item in here, he's really running out of locations, and at that point, it's either the bottom of Turtle Rock or Tower of Hera, and sooner or later he'll find the mirror and be in go mode.
Right, because knowing that he's missing the mirror makes the pedestal not a concern for him.
But we have a lot of mirror checks. And here goes the swamp dive.
Here goes Swamp. That's unfortunate.
Meanwhile, HayfieldBay is facing Vitreous with Master Sword and regular arrows, but plenty of invincibility items, which he will make judicious use of.
Yep, and once again, we're sitting here slashing an eyeball far too many times for our own comfort and preference.
And as long as he's slashing non-stop, he's not using magic, which is why he's barely drained any of his magic meter this time. Okay, 8 arrows to the big eye, and that'll be that.
The difference is clear. Clear eyes.
But we do have an item on left side Mire.
So I think the only real hope for SirLinkalot here is that he runs into the book, like, now.
And then decides to immediately do desert, and then doesn't go back into swamp but heads for T-Rock.
Right.
That's a lot of ifs.
And it's the only way I'm seeing this end up being close here, because that swamp dip is really going to hurt.
Now, where's HayfieldBay go?
Graveyard Ledge?
He doesn't have the mirror.
That's right. I don't know. I'm not sure he knows what he's doing at this point. So at least we're on equal footing.
I'm trying to think what he hasn't checked. Did he... I guess he hasn't done purple chest?
That's the only thing I could think of that wouldn't have been done around here, because everything else, I think...
Did he not do Stumpy? Oh, he hasn't even done Jeremiah.
Did HayfieldBay get the other item out of Mire?
No, he didn't do that either.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, chat pointing out that the thing about if Sir Link finds book, well, then the tablets are in logic, and it gives him even more things to check before he goes to Turtle Rock.
That's a fair point. You know, the amusing and sad thing is that all of SirLinkalot's routing issues have been surrounded by the Death Mountain area. Dark Death Mountain, specifically. Since we're looking at the flute in Turtle Rock and the hammer in the lower portion of, was it Paradox Cave? No, or was that in Super Bunny Cave? I think
It was Super Bunny. Also, some interesting hookshot use by Sir Link a couple of screens ago to get by that cluster of blocks. I haven't seen that too often.
I don't think I've ever seen that until now. Alright, so the question now is... Oh, never mind. HayfieldBay is going to be going into Turtle Rock. So that'll be some more time wasted on his end.
Or he could be going to Hera, because currently this is his only way to get up the mountain since he doesn't have the mirror.
Right, but without the mirror, he's not going to be able to get back into the light world.
Right, so we have to hope he goes to Hera first.
But he's currently in the dark world.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that... Right. My bad.
No, it happens.
I saw him going up a cave and confused Super Bunny and Paradox.
Yeah, those caves look familiar. Look very similar in a lot of regards. So yeah, we're going to have potentially a full clear of Turtle Rock if we can locate the ice rod.
If we can locate the ice rod and haven't gotten all the items by then. Trinex could always have a dungeon item. Fortunately for HayfieldBay, SirLinkalot is still finishing up his full clear of swamp.
Yeah, this is not a kind seed for either of our runners. Though HayfieldBay is able to just go straight to the back. And with all these checks, we still haven't found another sword or the silvers.
Ooh, and SirLinkalot using hammer strats on Argus, not something you see every day, but it was certainly effective. On the bright side, I do like the pendant dungeon music.
That's fair. Although completing Swamp does unlock one more location.
Yep, might be paying our respects to Sarsaparilla. Hey, and speaking of locations unlocked, we can now do Magic Bat.
You know, it's going to have to be a save and quit anyways, which means he might do Magic Bat before he goes back up and does Hera.
What does he have against Hera?
I mean, it's terrible, obviously. I'd say I'm sorry, but we both know I'm not.
Oh, and there's our book. So, at 1 hour, 18 minutes, 42 seconds, HayfieldBay is in go mode. Only he's still doing checks.
Probably really wants a tempered sword. And of course,
But it's not there.
A little bit of love for our green pendant, which is completely useless. Although, given that HayfieldBay is not going to be picking up the Mire at this point, it's going to make Ganon's tower routing more annoying, potentially.
That's true. It gives a strong incentive not to go full right, even if you find a key, which could come back to bite him if the big key is in Compass Room.
Yep. Although having the Mire means that Graveyard Ledge is about to get checked. Quick big key there.
And he's in go mode, so he can just run straight for the back.
Unfortunately, another fruitless check for SirLinkalot.
But he's going back to Death Mountain.
I think the question is, could he be thinking pedestal at this point? Because if he is, then he may very well go back into Hera and complete that first, and then go over and beat Turtle Rock. Because the way he sees it, the Ice Rod could be in Hera, and if that's the case, and the flute is on pedestal, which to his knowledge it could be.
He's gotten both items out of Hera.
Okay. I mean, okay, so it makes it less likely, but it's still possible. Okay, good. Yeah, go straight to Turtle Rock, please.
Only he got dead rocked.
Well, you know, that's par for the course at this given point.
And with HayfieldBay picking up his 7th crystal, we have a little game we like to play. If you are a subscriber to any speed game channel or have cheered 250 bits or more, you can wind up on our leaderboard if your guess is equal to or the closest to the correct check for HayfieldBay to find the big key to Ganon's tower. So enter a number from 1 to 22.
All right, what are you looking at today, Drosy?
I normally do 10, but someone already took it. I now have to see what hasn't been taken. A lot of things have been taken. I think 14's still in there. What about you?
I'm going to follow the heart of the seed and say tile room. So, 22.
Well, except that given HayfieldBay's lack of the mirror, I could see tile room potentially being 18.
That's fair. I think I'm going to go with 22 anyways, and we'll just see how it works out. Sorry, most of my commentary was during our spoiler log tournament, so we didn't do numbers there, we did locations. But I'm going to go with 22.
Getting ready to end the game here, so get your guesses in. The game will end once HayfieldBay walks into Ganon's tower.
Oh, alright, well there's one.
I didn't even see it, but I assume it was nothing because Bob lives.
10 arrows, nothing useful at this point.
Number 2 is map. Number 3 is that tempered sword. Okay, no Master Sword Silverlist for us today. Bugnet in 4, small key in 5.
While small keys are nice, it's not the key he was looking for. Finally, the superior boomerang. That's something at least.
So I just have to remember for the count that he did not do Hope Room, and so the count is 2 lower than it would normally be for these locations. So Fire Snake Room is going to be 7.
Yeah, not having Mire really messes up a bit of routing.
Honestly, though, walking out of Hope Room isn't really much longer than mirroring out of Hope Room.
That's a fair point. Everyone grab your cheese and quackers because the duck is unstuck.
8, 9, and 10, nothing. There's silvers in 11.
Alright, so the Ganon fight is slowly getting easier.
Which also means if the big key is on the right side and SirLinkalot with his mirror goes full right, he might get the big key faster, but he'll have a lot harder time with Ganon.
That's a good point, unless there's also a sword on the right side or up in the top of Ganon's tower.
And speaking of SirLinkalot, he's decided to do desert first.
Which is interesting given that he has the mirror, but might be hoping for silvers or a sword upgrade.
Meanwhile, if you blinked, you just missed Ice Armos. 13,300 rupees. 14. Okay, it's on the right side.
And now we get to see some rooms we don't normally get to see in Randomizer.
Like the big chest room. Because if you have the big key, you wouldn't be in the big chest room.
Oh, makes me wonder if that was intentional or not.
And there it is
There
in 16.
Of course. Oh my goodness. It ends up being a God GT.
So, congratulations, Neustria, for your closest guess. We will save that and get a look at our new leaderboard.
Alright, now with the lovely routing having been completed for this terrible seed, all we have left is execution, which I'm sure HayfieldBay is feeling rather pleased by at this point.
I'm not sure if the save command worked there. Apologies to Neustria if this doesn't get saved, we'll look into it afterwards. Sir Link, meanwhile, took down Lanmo, has his 6th crystal.
And HayfieldBay just wants to watch the world burn. Or at least the gauntlet.
So now, it's interesting, like, assuming Sir Link goes to Hope Room first and gets the big key on his first or second check, which will be more time, the additional time of him doing Master Sword silverless, or the additional time it took HayfieldBay to do the left side?
I think that for SirLinkalot, it would probably be quicker to check the left side first because he does have the mirror. I think HayfieldBay may have ended up spending extra time, though, given that he actually had to walk out of, well, all but out of Ganon's tower, and then come back in to get through the right-hand side, whereas SirLinkalot would just be able to mirror out.
You mean mirroring out once he got the silvers, assuming he already had the big key?
Not even that, just being able to mirror out once he finished Ice Armos and not having to go through 3 or 4 extra rooms there.
Yeah, though it's only 3 or 4 rooms, it's not like half the dungeon or anything at that point.
That's fair. I think the time difference would be relatively close, at least, especially for runners of this caliber. Like, for me, it would definitely be worth it to get the silvers and or the tempered, but these guys murder the pig much more quickly than I do under unideal circumstances, so I'm not certain.
Still, the sheer number of spin slashes necessary on Master Sword silverless takes a while, even just in terms of the limits of physical possibility. Even for the best runner, it takes a while. Sir Link, by the way, already in Mire Basement because he did get to take advantage of the God Mire routing. While HayfieldBay is already on Moldorm 2. Wonder if he'll check that last chest just in case it has butter.
I think if HayfieldBay feels like they're behind, the answer to that's going to be no.
And indeed, because he checked the pre-Moldorm chest, that was the only reason I was wondering.
I didn't even notice that. Good catch.
And a nice double to start off the geometry wars. Not sure if that counted as another double or if they were too close together. Sir Link entering the Vitreous Chamber of Horrors. Also using cape strats there.
Alright, so we're either at 4 or 5 hits. Yep, so that second round did count as a double.
Not that it made much of a difference because he fired 2 back there anyway, so that would have been it for Aga either way.
That's fair. For those keeping track at home, it was a 2-2-0-1-1.
And here's Ganon. And we get to learn about hot air balloons today.
That honestly sounds like the beginning of a joke, like saying one of the passengers was feeling slightly sheepish or something of that nature.
Maybe we can add that for blind.
You know, like if I told you there were a duck, a sheep, and a rooster and a hot air balloon, you'd be like, okay, what's the punchline?
Or else it's like that puzzle with like the sheep and the rooster can't be in the hot air balloon together and without supervision.
But does the duck count as supervision? Either way, quick work being made here of yet another animal, the pig.
We are on to phase 4 already, and HayfieldBay gets in a shot before the lights go out, but does not get the torch glitch.
Might be a triple anyways. Oh, not quite. Double there.
And there we go.
Alrighty, so assuming that HayfieldBay can walk across his bridge to success, you can go ahead and get your GGs in chat. And there we go.
So HayfieldBay finishes first here. I do not have the official SRL time. I'm guessing it's around 1:34:30.
1:34:28.
Thank you. And SirLinkalot is approaching Ganon's tower here. And yes, you can see now that we're back on one-on-one in this best of 3. HayfieldBay gets a Triforce, and the first runner to 2 Triforces will win this matchup.
You know, finishing this seed in under 135 is actually really remarkable given what it threw at our runners.
Yeah, you'd basically have to have galaxy-brained Tower of Hera and Turtle Rock to have finished it in much less.
SirLinkalot finding his God GT, though, at least. That's something.
So I guess we'll get to see how he does with Master Sword Silverless Ganon.
Yep, we get to put the pig through the spin cycle. Which honestly is not nearly as much fun as it sounds like. Alright, SirLinkalot making pretty quick work of the gauntlet here. Which is one of those things that I've found you don't quite fully respect until you attempt to do it yourself and realize it's really stinking hard.
Also, I'm realizing we might not be getting interviews because the runners are going to do a second race here in an hour, so they might be holding off their interviews until after the second race.
That is a fair point, keeping in mind that they are currently 20 minutes, or rather the restream is 20 minutes behind what's happening live, so they may choose to grab lunch instead of doing an interview.
But nice fire rod work on Landmo 2 on SirLink's part. And of course, as I say that, HayfieldBay joins us. GG.
GG.
We weren't sure if you were going to be doing interviews now or if you wanted the break before your second match.
Oh, we will have a little break before second match. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about where was the mirror?
Tower of Hera.
Oh, I'm so lucky by not given the flute, the mirror. I would go to Swamp Palace.
Which is exactly what SirLink did. I was actually surprised you decided to dip Turtle Rock before Tower of Hera. What was your thought in doing that?
I just want to skip Hera this time.
Oh, well, you succeeded.
That was a very good choice, given that it had the mirror.
Yeah.
And not getting the mirror paid off for you another way because you did full left side and got tempered in silvers.
Yeah, that was very fun because I planned to do the Dark Magician and I found out, oh, I don't have the mirror. I just have to go full left now.
Yeah, and that, I mean, you would have had tempered anyway, but yeah, it got you the silvers too. Whereas SirLinkalot did normal strats going to the Hope Room first because he had the mirror, got the big key, and is working his way now actually on Moldorm 2 with the 20-minute lag. And he's going to be doing Master Sword Silverless.
One more thing I would like to add is when I was in Turtle Rock and got the flute, I immediately save and quit because I thought I was in go mode, but I forgot about the mirror or the book to enter Desert Palace.
Oh, we just thought you were risking that the mirror or the book would be in Mire, Shed, or Mire.
Well, I have to climb up again.
On the other hand, another heads-up play you made earlier in the game, when you got Titan's Mitts, you realized that immediately gave you Dark Death Mountain access. Oh, and by the way, nice triple by SirLink there. That's 2-3-1 for those of you keeping track, and he's going on to Ganon. But yeah, you, HayfieldBay, got the Titan's Mitts and then immediately went to Dark Death Mountain where you got your hammer. So that was good heads up. SirLinkalot didn't think about it, and it was a while before he got the hammer.
Oh, that was sad.
Because it also then meant you could go straight to Hype Cave and get your fire rod and not have to double dip Skullwoods.
Or Pod.
This is the mirror. I was lucky there, so it could have ended opposite if the flute had been in Swamp.
And we are now going to watch the 52 spin hits it takes to beat Ganon Master Sword Silverless, 12 for each of the first two phases, 4 for the third phase, and 24 for the fourth phase.
Let's hope that Link has strong constitution here and doesn't get dizzy easily.
But we're on phase 2, which is the hardest phase. Phase 4, the real risk is just running out of magic, but I think I saw a bottle of blue goo there, and in any case, Sir Link has the lamp, so he shouldn't have magic issues.
Yeah, SirLinkalot also did go over to the witch's hut to grab potions, so he should be good to go there. Woo!
Seems like we just lost HayfieldBay.
Yeah, he may have just been stepping out to grab lunch.
All told, his collection rate isn't that high. Probably helps that he never went into Swamp or Hera.
Yeah, that's fair. This seed does make it seem like the collection rate would be much higher than what it is.
Did you find the arrows in Ganon's tower? He does get the torch glitch, which is really important when you're doing Silverless.
Yeah, without that, you're pretty much restricted to doing 1, maybe 2 spins if you're really lucky on timing.
Oh, sounded like he didn't make that one.
I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure he's still on 5 right now. And the one thing I found when I'm doing this fight, and I just have to repeatedly spin, as the fight goes on, the only thing that is permeating my brain other than keep spinning is don't fall off.
Yeah. You don't want to see that. I've seen many a runner who, if they already know they're in second in a 1-to-1, they'll just throw in the towel if they take a Ganon fall or a Ganon death. But it's much better when they can finish off Ganon. I think we're more than halfway.
I believe so. I want to say we're looking at somewhere around 14 or 15 spins, though I might be wrong. I'm assuming that Sir Link has another potion that will at least refill his magic, given that he's still going with the Fire Rod strats.
And he didn't even need it. Get your GGs in for SirLinkalot sticking out that Master Sword Silverless fight.
Alright, SirLinkalot finished in second place with an ending time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 30 seconds.
So GG's to him, and now we can announce that since SirLinkalot, as the loser of this match, gets to choose a settings change for the next match, he has chosen to include Map Compass Shuffle for match 2, which will be right here in a little over an hour. In the meantime, let's see if we can get him in here for a short interview.
Map Compass rotation is actually a really interesting change, because I'm assuming that's going to make it so that looking at your map is going to be useless without actually collecting maps from the dungeons.
And we have SirLinkalot here, GG.
Thank you.
So, any regrets about the mirror?
Good bait. Although, so the reason why I followed Mire was when I got mitts, I was just like, ooh, I don't have to do Ega. Let's go to the Dark World. And I wasn't even thinking about Dark Death Mountain until I started going up there again. I was like, oh crap, I could have done this like when I got the mitts. I hope nothing's here. And then the hammer comes up and was like, I'm behind at this point. I know I am. So as soon as I got the mirror, I'm just like, I have to check Swamp Palace. Like, I can't go to Turtle Rock like I was planning to.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, you did wind up a bit behind just because you then double dipped both Skullwoods and Pod. Until then, you were actually slightly ahead because Hayfield Bay had taken a death in Eastern doing the Dark Room, whereas you got through it.
Speaking of bait, how about those early flippers that didn't amount to anything at all throughout the seed?
That's another reason why I decided to go to Swamp. I was just like, early flippers have led to nothing so far. Let's go to somewhere where there's 6 items and it's a green pendant, so there's got to be something here, right? No, great bait seed.
The other unfortunate irony about that mirror is that both Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows were sitting on the left side of GT Basement, and Hayfield without the mirror had done full left.
Yeah, I think even if I didn't have the mirror, and Master Sword, I still would have checked Hope Room. So I regardless at that point, if that's where Tempered, and unless I would have found a Tempered somewhere else, I would have been doing Master Sword Silverless regardless.
Yeah, we never actually found that 4th sword, so I couldn't tell you that either way.
But the other funny thing was the optimal solution, which neither of you did, would have been just a full Turtle Rock dive because Book was sitting on Laser Bridge, and that made Mirror unnecessary.
Yeah, well, that was my thought when I was going up Death Mountain. I'm like, do I want to do Hera or do I want to do Turtle Rock? I'm like, well, if I do Turtle Rock and there's nothing in there, then I have to do Hera. And I'll have to save and quit just to get to Hera and go all the way around. So it's like, I'll do Hera first and go to Turtle Rock if I don't find anything. And if I find something, I'm just going to follow it depending on what it is. And yeah, the mirror was just like, here, go do Pendant Swamp.
At least you got the Go Mode Mire.
Yeah, got a Godmire. That was nice.
So at any point were you thinking that Flute could be on the pedestal?
It was in the back of my mind, but I wasn't really worried about it until I found an ice rod. Like, it was like, it's still possible. It's still technically possible, I think, because I still didn't know what Mire was. So I was like, it could be Bombos on pedestal as well. So I was just like, until I find an ice rod, I'm not even going to think about pedestal though.
That's a fair point.
So we've gotten word that you've chosen to do map compass randomizer for the second match. What's your thinking there?
Just to kind of randomize it to where you don't necessarily know the value of the dungeon and whether or not you want to do it. So you kind of have to make the gamble and kind of read the seed. Is this even required for me right now?
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll see a lot more full clears of dungeons because you can't say, oh, I know there has to be a dungeon item in that last chest that I didn't check.
Yep, very possible. We'll see what happens.
Either way, I hope it ends up being kinder than this seed was in terms of last locationing and fake leads that don't actually go anywhere.
But yeah, any final thoughts, Link?
No, I'm just looking forward to game 2. We got like 45 minutes until that starts, so I'm gonna like get up, stretch, grab a drink, grab a snack, and then get my stream restarted for the next one.
Sounds good, and good luck to you on that.
Thank you.
We'll just leave this running until your credits finish, and other than that, we'll let everyone get ready for the second match.
Yep, that was a heck of a race and a heck of a way to kick off our group stage being restreamed at least. Did you have any final thoughts, Drosy?
Hopefully the next race does not involve so much last locationing.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on this go around.
And also, while we're wrapping up here, thanks again to our tracker, Sanders316, for doing a great job with the tracking today.
Yep, shout out to you, my co-commentator Drosy. It was a blast commenting with you as always.
Yep, it was definitely fun working with you again. Oh, here, look at all those high times. Mirror 106, Flute 122. That just sums up the seed.
Pretty much. There was pretty much nothing given that was exceptionally early in that regard. Although that GT big key is nice.
Yeah, not something you see every day, but unfortunately for anyone who guessed 1, it wasn't the right answer since HayfieldBay was in there first.
And actually, SirLinkalot ended up with a slightly smaller collection rate, I'm assuming because of the GT clearing.
Yeah, because otherwise, full clearing on GT.
Yeah, that adds almost 10 chests, which is not fun.
But yeah, so that'll do it for this broadcast. Be sure to come back here in an hour to watch these runners go at it again. Good luck to both of them.
Yeah, very much so. I look forward to match 2 in this set.
And go enjoy some brunch in the meantime.
Yep, so we'll see you around for the second match. GG everyone, and good luck.